Now at 11, the fallout in Ferguson reaches a boiling point. Police and protesters clash 1 year after the shooting death of Michael Brown.
Nice Monday for you, but now the rain moves in and some thunder may be on the way for tomorrow.
Then a deadly drive claims the life of a former Attleboro mayor. Tonight, what investigators have learned about the moments leading up to that crash.
Plus, racing to the rescue in the rip currents. Two brothers saved lives in the waters off Marshfield.
Also, Tom Brady getting support from a basketball legend as NFL owners start questioning the cost of the Deflategate investigation.
And teeing up technology on the links. A paralyzed man gets to golf again thanks to robotics.
Also breaking news in East Boston tonight, where a water main break leads to serious flooding and creates a sinkhole.
7 News at 11 starts now.
All right, first at 11 tonight, strong storms are heading our way. You can see the system on radar there swirling toward New England. After a beautiful, cooler weekend, the rain is coming back.
And some of us could now be dealing with thunderstorms and even some flooding. Let's check your forecast with Chief Meteorologist Pete Bouchard.
Good downpours coming our way for tomorrow. Maybe not so good if you're traveling in the late morning and early afternoon. This is the line we're talking about. Again, doesn't look like much, but it packs a punch. Look at this wall of water coming in, not at 6 o'clock or 8 o'clock. More like 9 or 10 o'clock it starts moving in. We might see some downpours, though, ahead of this that come in between 10 and 11. But the main brunt of this precipitation coming through between 1 and 3 o'clock. And we might finish it off with a couple of rounds of thunder in the afternoon and evening for the evening drive. So keep an eye to the sky. It'll be dark tomorrow, and there'll be downpours around. These kind of sneak up on you, too, because the sky will be obscured most of the day. 67. Our current reading in Boston, 64 in Worcester. We rise into the mid-70s. Very sticky air for tomorrow and a lot of wind, too. Get into the rest of the forecast ahead.
And you can track tomorrow's rain on the go using our interactive radar. Download the free 7 News or 7 Weather app for your Apple or Android mobile device.
And breaking news in East Boston tonight, a water main break causing some serious flooding, even a sinkhole that nearly swallowed a car. The night team's Nick Emmons live now in EC, where crews are still cleaning up. Nick?
Elizabeth, this all happening sometime around 8 o'clock tonight, and it was a mess out here. Crews are actively digging into this area where that sinkhole opened up. It was about a 10-foot wide sinkhole. A car was almost taken in with it. They have since moved it, but a very active scene right now as crews are trying to get water restored to this street, Cottage Street in East Boston. I want to show you some video of what it looked like earlier tonight. You can see a river of water going down Cottage Street here, bubbling out of the manhole covers here. Firefighters described it as geysers shooting up through the street. Listen.
It looked like just geysers, and the street was lifting. It was kind of surreal. The water, the rocks were coming down the streets. Strange noises underneath us, so we just cleared everybody out, taped it off, and kept the residents away.
I was upstairs and I heard the fire engine, so I went to the window and I just saw a ton of water just kind of pouring out of the street, like where that little hole is and where the hole next to the Jeep is.
So this is the last thing you want to be dealing with?
Yes, I'm sure it's the last thing everybody on the street wants to be dealing with.
All right, back out here live, you can see crews here hard at work digging into where that sinkhole was. One of the concerns here with this flooding situation was that the water was going to go into some basement apartments that are nearby. A fire tells me that 4 basements were flooded, but only one of those basements was actually occupied by someone, so they had to be evacuated. They'll be staying somewhere else tonight. Water should be restored. The hope is first thing in the morning, power is on, gas is going on. So the biggest thing right now is that this is a major inconvenience for everyone living on this now very noisy street. That's the latest live from East Boston. Nick Emmons, 7 News 19.
Tonight on 7, a state of emergency in Ferguson, Missouri.
It's time to stop the violence now.
The night team covering the renewed calls for change from the fallout in Ferguson.
Right now, we've got some live pictures looking over Ferguson from a helicopter there, and it's a familiar scene. Although it's not a terrible or violent scene at the moment, but demonstrators are back on the streets. as they were a year ago when they protested the death of Michael Brown.
And tonight, protesters blocking major roads have clashed with police just one day after the demonstrations turned violent. The night team's Ryan Schulteis now in the control room with the very latest.
And Liz, as you saw in those live pictures there, protesters are taking to the streets once again. Officials say they are ready for any violence that might break out. Ferguson, Missouri, once again in the spotlight. Dozens of protesters arrested after blocking I-70. It comes after a night of gunshots that rattled Ferguson.
Back up, back up.
Violence breaking out after demonstrations marking 1 year since the death of Michael Brown.
Anybody hit?
Today, officials declared a state of emergency that will allow for a better response if violence erupts on the streets of Ferguson again tonight. Gunshots sent people running. Police say it was feuding gunmen, not protesters, that first fired dozens of rounds at each other, then targeted police.
It was very scary because it was coming from so many different directions. You did not know what do you duck, do you run, do you stay put?
Several stores were robbed and vandalized. The suspect, 18-year-old Tyrone Harris, has been charged with 10 felonies. He's still in critical condition.
There is a small group of people out there that are intent on making sure that we don't have peace that prevails.
Some say much has changed over the past year, including new African-American leaders. But there is still anger with protesters, calling for an end to racially biased policing in Ferguson and all over the country.
Now is the time for action.
Many of those protesters were arrested outside the federal courthouse. I want to take you back to some live pictures here from Ferguson, Missouri. You can see here protesters are marching up and down the street there. They did declare that state of emergency here in Ferguson just in case, but so far it looks like a very peaceful protest at this hour. But of course, things could quickly turn ugly there, so they do have a lot of police on scene there. But for right now, things do look peaceful there in Ferguson, Missouri. Once again, police say Tyrone Harris, that suspect there, used a stolen handgun to fire at officers. He is fighting for his life tonight. In the control room, Ryan Schulteis, 7 News 19.
Also from the night team, a tragic loss. The former mayor of Attleboro dies in a violent crash, and tonight the community is remembering Mayor Judy Robbins as a selfless public servant who cared about the people of her city. Let's get to the night team's Kimberly Bookman, who's live there with the latest tonight. Kimberly?
Well, Adam, what we know is she continued to volunteer her time. In fact, she was right here at City Hall just hours before this crash. A local bus stops on South Washington Street in North Attleboro to drop off this passenger at her usual stop, when all of a sudden a car hit it from behind.
It was basically just a jolting, and everybody on the bus was like, what the heck just happened?
Karen, who doesn't want to share her last name, cracked her rib in the crash. When she and 4 other passengers got off the bus to go to the hospital, they immediately recognized the car's driver.
Everybody knew Judy. You know, her campaign slogan for the years that she was an office, Judy, Judy, Judy. Everybody knew her name. She's very, very well known. She touched a lot of people's lives.
78-year-old Judith Robbins, the former mayor of Attleboro, was behind the wheel. The fire chief says she suffered a heart attack, but it's unclear if that happened before or after the crash. Given CPR on the scene, she later died at the hospital.
She gave of herself, really a true public servant, still working up until today here in this building at City Hall.
Robbins began her public service in 1968, served on the city council for 16 years, and as mayor for 12. She left City Hall Monday for an appointment, and that's when the accident happened.
I feel so bad for her. I feel really, for her family, I feel really bad.
And she leaves behind her husband, 2 adult children who live on the West Coast, and several grandchildren. Reporting live from Attleboro, Kimberly Bookman, 7 News 19.
Police are investigating a stabbing in the South End this afternoon. Investigators say a 61-year-old man was attacked inside his condo by a neighbor. Police arrived so quickly they found that suspect in the hallway, actually trying to get away. They say he was covered in the victim's blood and also had a few cuts. Officers found the folding knife they believe was used in the attack. The suspect now charged with attempted murder. And new at 11, a fire truck collides with a car in West Roxbury. It happened at the intersection of Corey and Center Street. The car's passenger went to the hospital to be checked out. None of the firefighters were injured.
Now, from the night team, rough rip currents drag swimmers out to sea.
He was just saying, help, I'm drowning, I'm going under.
Until 2 brothers rush to their rescue.
The harbor master in Marshfield keeping very busy today with steady, dangerous rip currents, but rescuers got a little help from 2 brothers who ran into those rip currents to save some lives. Let's get to the night team's Jadian Thompson now, who's live in Marshfield with more from those brothers. Jadian?
Adam, this is a tight-knit community who told us all about what happened, and it basically came down to a man, these waves, and this tiny inner tube. And although he may not have walked on water, they're calling him Jesus.
The crashing waves lured many people in at this private beach in Marshfield, but
Today's the worst I've ever seen.
the epic surf waves came at a cost.
He was splashing and his head was going underwater and he was bouncing back up and forth.
Many people suddenly caught in the rip current, one man going under.
We knew like he was in trouble.
Colin Bono and his brother Casey took notice.
He was just saying, help, I'm drowning, I'm going under. He's really weak, can't swim for himself, and just puts him over his shoulders, swims him all the way in through the rip tide.
With a small float, he pulled the man in, clearly thankful the guy thought he had been saved by a higher power.
He was all business, and then I pull him up onto the beach, he looks up at me, he just goes, "Are you Jesus?"
And it wasn't just that one time. Colin rescued another person, and then another, and then another, 5 times total.
Colin was out there, and I have to say there were a couple of other neighborhood guys who have gone in as well.
It's a safe bet that if anyone in this town needs any kind of help, they'll call Colin. Both brothers.
I said, you can't let him go back out there. And the cop kept saying, he's a hero, he's a hero.
Making Mama proud.
Now, there are no lifeguards on this beach because it is a private area, and the folks here say they did call 911, but so far, Colin is the first on scene. Reporting live tonight in Marshfield, Jadian Thompson, 7 News 19.
The Deflategate settlement hearing now just 36 hours away, but you wouldn't know it by watching Tom Brady.
The Pats quarterback staying cool under pressure, focusing on football and family too. Cameras capturing Brady and his sons enjoying a moment together on the practice field. The quarterback appearing very relaxed there just days before he has to head down to New York.
And tonight it appears another high-profile athlete is on Team Tom Brady. NBA legend Magic Johnson saying in Rhode Island today the NFL needs to move on, and if it doesn't, it will leave fans frustrated. Johnson telling the Providence Journal, quote, "I'm a Tom Brady fan. I don't want to see Tom Brady miss one game. If not, I'm not watching. I want to see Tom Brady and the New England Patriots."
The Providence Journal also reporting Roger Goodell may be in some hot water with the other NFL owners. The report says some owners are uncomfortable with the long, drawn-out process here, also frustrated with spending millions on the legal fight. Do count on 7 News for live coverage from New York for the settlement conference. Nicole Oliverio, who you see here, and Dan Housley, they're heading to the Big Apple to provide continuing coverage of the scandal with live reports that start tomorrow.
Now to Voice Your Choice coverage, you've likely heard about this. Fox News debate moderator Megyn Kelly speaking out about controversial remarks that Donald Trump made about her. Following tough questions during last week's debate, Trump said that Kelly had, quote, blood coming out of her eyes, blood coming out of her wherever. Many saw it as a sexist reference. Tonight on Fox News Channel, Kelly responded.
Trump, who is the front runner, will not apologize. And I certainly will not apologize for doing good journalism. So I'll continue doing my job without fear or favor. And Mr. Trump, I expect, will continue with what has been a successful campaign thus far.
Trump has said he did not do anything wrong. In an NBC News poll taken after the controversy began, Trump remained the front runner. Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton kicked off a 2-day campaign sweep through New Hampshire today. Clinton focused on a bid to reclaim some of the populist momentum of challenger Bernie Sanders. She also unveiled a $350 billion college affordability plan.
All right, still much more to come here from the night team.
Up next, using technology to get back on his feet, the incredible robotics helping a man paralyzed in an accident hit the links once again.
Then Governor Baker stepping up and taking the ice bucket challenge while sending a message to the NFL about Deflategate.
Our forecast is rainy for tomorrow. Dries out the rest of the week. We'll get into that Pats forecast for preseason coming up.
And wild weather strikes again. The typhoon that sent a car flying off the road.
And keeping a close eye on breaking news out of Ferguson, Missouri tonight, we have a live look here. Police have just moved in to a group of protesters who are gathering in a parking lot. You can see the flashlights there, the police cars, trying to keep everything in order. We're told that things are pretty peaceful right now, but the situation is tense. We're watching these live pictures closely. We'll bring you updates on 7 News at 11 as we continue.